Ethan Marlowe stepped off the small transport ship onto the surface of Valyra, a planet that looked nothing like Earth. The sky was a soft lavender, streaked with white clouds that moved slowly as if the entire world itself was breathing. The air had a strange, crisp taste that made his lungs feel refreshed despite the long journey through space. As a human intelligence officer, Ethan had traveled to many worlds, but Valyra was different. It was beautiful, yet he could sense tension in the very air, a quiet unease lurking beneath the calm landscape. He adjusted the strap of his backpack and looked around. Towering structures of shining metal and crystal rose from the ground like the spires of some ancient city, yet everything seemed alive with energy. Everywhere he looked, alien warriors moved with a fluid grace that was both intimidating and mesmerizing. They had long limbs, skin shimmering in shades of silver and blue, and their eyes glowed faintly with a color that seemed to change with their emotions. Ethan had studied their culture in briefings, but seeing them up close made him realize how much he did not know. A loud chime echoed through the air, calling everyone to attention. A central square opened before him, where a gathering was beginning. Ethan was here as an observer officially to witness a political assembly. Unofficially, he was here to gather intelligence. He had been briefed on potential corruption among Valyra's leadership, and his instincts told him that this assembly could reveal much more than just formal speeches. As he stepped closer, a group of warriors passed by. They were armed, but their weapons looked ceremonial rather than practical. Their posture was disciplined, yet every movement seemed to carry a quiet confidence, as if they were capable of defending themselves against anything. Ethan's attention was drawn to one figure in particular, a woman moving with a precision and strength that marked her as more than ordinary. She had silver-blue skin that glimmered in the light, and her hair, long and dark, seemed almost alive, flowing behind her as she walked. He felt an odd pull, an instinctive sense that she would play an important role in what was about to happen. The assembly began with a formal chant, the sound reverberating through the crystal structures in a way that made Ethan feel the vibrations in his chest. Leaders of Valyra spoke, praising their own accomplishments and making vague promises about the future of their planet. From his position on the edge of the square, Ethan could see subtle exchanges between the leaders, hand signals, glances, and whispers. He focused, his training kicking in. Something wasn't right. The energy between the leaders felt wrong, and he noticed the guarded looks they cast towards certain individuals as if hiding something. He shifted slightly, trying to get a better view, when he saw a small door open behind the main platform. A figure emerged carrying a collection of data crystals, each glowing faintly. One of the leaders reached out to take a crystal, but the figure hesitated, eyes darting nervously. Ethan's heart quickened. This could be the evidence he needed. The figure looked around, then discreetly slipped the crystals into a concealed pouch before hurrying away. Ethan had to act carefully. Any sudden move could alert the leaders and put him in danger. He noted the figure's path, then followed at a distance. The corridors of the building were narrower, lined with glowing panels that shifted colors as he passed. The air was cooler here, and the sound of the assembly became a distant hum. Ethan's senses were on high alert. He knew that Valyra's warriors could detect intruders easily, and any mistake could be deadly. He turned a corner and saw the figure enter a small chamber. Ethan paused, scanning the hallway. No one was around. Taking a deep breath, he approached the chamber, careful not to make a sound. Inside, the figure was transferring the data crystals to a hidden compartment. Ethan's eyes widened as he realized the information contained detailed plans of a secret operation. Plans that involved manipulation of neighboring planets, resources being diverted for personal gain, and strategies that could destabilize entire regions. Before he could fully process the implications, a sharp noise echoed behind him. Ethan froze. The door behind him slid open with a hiss, and a group of armored warriors entered. Their eyes locked onto him instantly, and he knew he had been spotted. Panic surged, but he forced himself to stay calm. One of the warriors stepped forward, her expression unreadable but her stance aggressive. Ethan instinctively recognized her from earlier, the woman with the silver-blue skin. She raised a hand and the others hesitated. "Who are you?" she demanded in a voice that was strong, commanding, and yet not unkind. Ethan swallowed hard. "I'm a visitor. I mean no harm. I know something your leaders are hiding. I saw their plans. They are corrupt. I came to warn your people. You have risked much to come here alone." "Protection," We must leave this place before your presence is discovered fully. Your safety depends on our speed and discretion." Along the way, she explained parts of her culture he had never understood. The significance of the mate bond, the honor of warriors who protect truth and justice, and the way her people viewed outsiders, not as enemies, but as potential allies if they proved their worth. Ethan listened intently, fascinated. Despite the danger, he felt a strange sense of comfort, knowing that Lysura's skill and strength were guiding him. As they reached an exit leading to the outside, Ethan looked back. The leaders would soon notice his absence and the hunt would begin. He felt a pang of worry, but Lysura's presence steadied him. "You will see," she said, reading his expression. "Courage is more powerful than fear. And truth is more powerful than deception." "We must move quickly," she said, and with that they began to navigate the winding paths of the city, seeking a safe place to plan their next move. Every step brought new challenges, patrolling warriors, surveillance devices, and unpredictable terrain. But Ethan adapted, relying on human ingenuity and quick thinking. Lysura observed him carefully, impressed with his ability to remain calm under pressure. She realized that this human, fragile in appearance yet strong in resolve, could be a key ally in exposing the corruption that threatened her people. Hours passed as they moved under the cover of darkness, finally reaching a secluded grove that glowed softly with bioluminescent plants. Here, Lysura allowed Ethan to rest while she kept watch. The grove was serene, almost magical, and Ethan felt a sense of peace despite the danger surrounding them. "You have shown bravery today," Lysura said, her voice gentle now. "Few could have survived this long in enemy territory. You have earned my trust, and more importantly, you have earned your place here. As my mate, you are not just protected. You are part of my world, and my people will see that soon. The truth cannot be hidden forever." And so, under the glowing canopy of Valyra, two unlikely companions prepared for the challenges ahead. One was human, relying on intellect and bravery, the other a Valyran warrior, relying on skill, strength, and honor. Together, they would uncover the truth, protect the innocent, and face the corrupt leaders who had underestimated both of them. For Ethan, this was more than a mission. It was the beginning of an extraordinary journey, a journey that would test his courage, his wits, and his heart. And as he glanced at Lysura, he knew that whatever came next, they would face it side by side. The first light of Valyra's sun touched the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline city. Ethan stirred, waking to the soft glow that filtered through the leaves of the grove where he and Lysura had taken shelter. He stretched, feeling the ache of muscles he hadn't realized were sore from the previous night's tense escape. Beside him, Lysura moved with the quiet precision of a predator, scanning their surroundings with the same intensity she had shown yesterday. "You slept well?" she asked, her voice low and calm, yet carrying a tone of authority. Ethan smiled faintly. "Better than I thought I would. I guess being declared a mate has its benefits. That is why I chose to protect you." A distant hum reached Ethan's ears, a low vibration that made his chest tighten. He turned to Lysura. "Are we being followed?" Together they left the grove, moving carefully through the strange terrain. Ethan noticed the patterns of the ground, the way the plants and rocks were arranged, and realized that Lysura was not just leading him. She was guiding him through a living maze, one she knew intimately. They reached a narrow path that wound between jagged cliffs, the city below them glimmering in the morning light. From this height, Ethan could see patrols moving along the streets, their movements methodical and precise. He shivered, imagining what might have happened if they had been discovered last night. "You have a sharp mind," Lysura said, as if reading his thoughts. "You notice things quickly. That is rare for your kind. Most humans rely on strength or technology alone. You combine both." She looked out over a dense forest that stretched for miles, the tops of the trees glowing faintly under Valyra's sun. "We will travel through the forest," she said. "It is dangerous, but it will keep us hidden from the hunters. You must remain alert." He followed closely as they entered the forest, the canopy above casting shifting patterns of light and shadow. The air was cooler here, and the sounds of the city faded to a distant murmur. Strange creatures flitted through the trees, some luminous, some nearly invisible, yet all seemed to sense Lysura's presence and kept their distance. Hours passed as they navigated the forest. Lysura moved with ease, her steps silent and deliberate, while Ethan struggled at times to match her speed and grace. He relied on careful observation and quick thinking, identifying safe paths and avoiding pitfalls. Lysura watched him closely, occasionally offering a word of advice. "You are improving," she said after a particularly tricky section of terrain. Your mind adapts quickly. That is what will keep you alive. That bond is stronger than fear or deception. As they continued, Ethan noticed subtle signs that Valyra's forests were not entirely natural. Small devices hidden among the trees, faint energy signatures, and unnatural patterns in the ground suggested surveillance. Are they tracking us? He asked quietly. Lysura's eyes narrowed. Possibly. The leaders have resources we cannot always detect. You must remain vigilant. But do not let fear guide your actions. Fear will make you careless. Around midday, they reached a clearing where a small stream flowed, its water shimmering with a faint blue light. Lysura stopped, crouched, and touched the water. We will rest here briefly. You must hydrate, and we must plan our next move. For the first time since his arrival on Valyra, he allowed himself to relax, though only slightly. He glanced at Lysura, who remained alert, eyes scanning the perimeter even as she rested. Why are the leaders doing this? Ethan asked quietly, curiosity overtaking caution for a moment. Why risk so much to manipulate other planets? Leaders often believe their authority is unchallengeable. They forget that true strength comes not from deception or control, but from courage, honesty, and loyalty. That is why you are dangerous to them. You embody the qualities they cannot understand or suppress. He was a human alone on an alien world, yet he had already influenced events in ways he had never imagined. And now, with Lysura by his side, he felt that he could do even more. Their rest was short-lived. A faint vibration in the ground alerted Lysura to approaching danger. Hunters, she whispered, rising to her feet. They have found our trail. What do we do? Ethan caught glimpses of them, tall, armored figures moving through the trees with lethal efficiency. Lysura led them to a narrow gorge, the walls rising sharply on either side. Here, she said, we can use the terrain to our advantage. Using the natural cover, they set small diversions, fallen branches, rocks, and subtle energy pulses to confuse the hunters. Lysura's knowledge of the forest allowed them to slip past unnoticed, though Ethan's heart pounded with each step. Finally, they reached a hidden cave, its entrance concealed by thick vines. Lysura pushed them aside and motioned for Ethan to enter. Inside, the cave was cool and dry with walls that shimmered faintly under their touch. It was a safe haven, at least for now. Ethan sank to the ground, breathing heavily. That was close, he said, feeling a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Lysura remained standing, her gaze fixed on the cave entrance. Close, yes, but not enough. They will not give up easily. We must be prepared for what comes next. The leaders will try everything to silence you. That is why I chose you as my mate. You are more than human. Your heart is as strong as your mind. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the cave walls, Ethan and Lysura began to plan their next steps. They would gather evidence, expose the leaders' corruption, and protect those who could not defend themselves. It would be a difficult journey, filled with danger and uncertainty, but together they had a chance. Ethan looked at Lysura, feeling a sense of resolve he had never known before. We can do this, he said quietly. Lysura nodded, her hand brushing against his shoulder. Yes, together we can, and together we will. But for the first time, Ethan felt that courage, trust, and integrity, qualities often underestimated in humans, could make a difference, even on a distant alien world. And so, as night fell over Valyra, the human and the Valyran warrior prepared for the challenges ahead, their bond stronger than fear, their resolve unshakable, and their determination to reveal the truth absolute. The forest grew darker as Ethan and Lysura moved deeper into its heart. The glow of bioluminescent plants cast long, dancing shadows across the uneven ground. Every step required attention, roots twisted like serpents across the path, and rocks jutted out unexpectedly. But Lysura moved with ease, her feet barely making a sound, and Ethan followed, doing his best to keep pace. Stay close, Lysura whispered, her voice steady but firm. The hunters are clever. They will try to separate us if they can. Being declared her mate had given him protection, yes, but it had also made him a target. He had never imagined that humans could matter so much on an alien world, yet here he was, playing a key role in exposing corruption that affected an entire planet. The path widened into a small clearing where the air felt warmer, and Ethan allowed himself a brief moment of rest. Lysura crouched near a cluster of glowing shrubs, listening carefully. We are not safe yet, she said after a moment. The hunters are close, but they are not expecting us to take this route. We can gain time if we move quickly and quietly. Her knowledge of the terrain, the culture, and the dangers they faced was unparalleled. He felt privileged to have her trust, but also aware that one mistake could undo everything. As they continued, Ethan asked, "Lysura, if your people discover the truth, what will happen to the leaders?" But truth has a power that cannot be denied forever. It spreads like light through darkness. And with you by my side, human, we have a chance to bring that light sooner rather than later. Then we'll do everything we can, he said firmly. They moved on, encountering strange wildlife along the way, creatures that glowed softly, their eyes reflecting curiosity rather than aggression. Ethan marveled at their diversity, their alien beauty. Lysura explained their habits, the way they interacted with the forest, and how they had adapted to its energy. He realized that Valyra was alive in ways humans could scarcely imagine, and that understanding it was as important as navigating its dangers. Hours passed, and the forest grew denser. They climbed rocky ridges and crossed shallow streams, each step bringing them closer to a hidden valley that Lysura considered a safe haven. "Once we reach the valley," she said, "we can plan our next move. The terrain will give us cover, and I know a few allies who will assist us." He had been alone on this mission, relying on his wits and instincts. But now, with Lysura and potential allies, they had a real chance of making a difference. As they neared the valley, a faint hum echoed through the forest. Ethan froze, recognizing the sound. "Hunters again?" he whispered. Lysura's eyes narrowed. "Yes, they are persistent. We must be careful." She led him to a rocky outcrop where the terrain formed a natural barrier. From this vantage point, they could see movement in the distance, figures gliding silently through the forest, clearly searching for them. Ethan felt a surge of fear, but he forced himself to focus. "What should we do?" "We wait for them to pass, then move along a hidden trail. Patience and timing are our weapons now." He realized that despite being vastly different from humans, these aliens had intelligence and discipline that matched any trained soldier he had encountered. Yet he also saw the subtle flaws, the impatience of one, the hesitation of another. Lysura noticed it too. "They are skilled," she whispered, "but even the best can be outsmarted with patience and observation. Remember what I taught you." The valley was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Towering rock formations rose from the ground like giant statues, and the air shimmered with energy. Small streams crisscrossed the terrain, reflecting the light in a dazzling display. Lysura led him to a cluster of natural caves at the base of one formation. "This is our refuge," she said. "We can rest here, and I can contact my allies. They will help us prepare for the next step." Lysura activated a small communicator, sending a signal to the warriors she trusted. Within moments, two figures emerged from the shadows, experienced Valyran warriors, both wary but clearly recognizing Lysura's authority. They greeted her with respect and then turned to Ethan, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and cautious approval. "This is the human I told you about," Lysura said. "He has seen the leader's corruption and has the courage to act. He is under my protection, and we must work together to expose the truth. The leaders will not surrender their power willingly. Information alone is not enough. We must ensure it reaches the people before the leaders can suppress it." The warriors added their knowledge, confirming details and pointing out additional targets for investigation. Together, they devised a plan to expose the corruption in a way that would protect the innocent and minimize risk. Ethan marveled at how Lysura commanded respect, not through fear or intimidation, but through her integrity, skill, and the bond she had with her people. He felt honored to be part of their efforts, realizing that humans could make a real difference when courage and honesty were applied with wisdom. As night fell over the valley, the group settled into the cave, preparing for the next phase of their mission. Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They had taken the first steps toward exposing the leaders, but he knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges. Lysura sat beside him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the crystals. "You have done well today," she said quietly. "You have learned quickly and adapted. That is why I chose you. Your courage inspires not only me, but also those who will stand with us. That is what makes you formidable." But for the first time, he felt that courage, intelligence, and truth could triumph, even against overwhelming odds. As he lay down to rest, Ethan reflected on the day's events. They had survived hunters, navigated a dangerous forest, and gained the support of Lysura's allies. More importantly, they had strengthened their bond, built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. And so, under the shimmering glow of the Valyran night, Ethan and Lysura prepared for the challenges ahead. Together, they would gather evidence, expose the leader's crimes, and protect the innocent. They were an unlikely team, a human and a Valyran warrior, but their courage, wisdom, and integrity made them a force that could change the fate of an entire world. Ethan felt a quiet determination settle within him. No matter the obstacles, no matter the dangers, he would stand beside Lysura, and together they would face whatever came next. The journey was only beginning, and the story of courage, trust, and the power of truth had only just begun to unfold. Dawn broke over the hidden valley, spilling soft light across the jagged rocks and shimmering streams. Ethan stirred, feeling the cool air on his face. Last night had been long, filled with careful planning and discussions with Lysura and her allies. The cave had become a center of strategy, a place where courage, intelligence, and determination met in quiet preparation. Lysura was already awake, standing near the entrance, scanning the surrounding forest. Her posture was alert, every sense tuned to detect movement, sound, or energy shifts. Ethan admired her focus. Even after everything they had faced, she was steady, calm, and unflinching. "We have little time," she said without turning. "The leader's network is vast. If we delay, the opportunity to reveal the truth will slip away. If we can secure that, the people will have no choice but to confront the leaders." The path was familiar to her, but to Ethan, every step required caution. The sounds of the forest were alive, the rustle of leaves, distant calls of strange creatures, and the faint hum of energy from the city beyond. Hours later, they reached the outskirts of the city. From a hidden ridge, Ethan could see the sprawling metropolis below, the crystalline towers glinting in the morning light. Patrols moved in coordinated patterns, their discipline precise and unyielding. It was a dangerous place, but Lysura's knowledge of the terrain gave them an advantage. "This way," she whispered, leading him down a narrow, overgrown path that bypassed the main streets. "We must reach the Central Records Center. That is where the leaders store the data we need. You must trust me completely. Distraction or hesitation could cost us everything." Ethan marveled at their grace, their culture, and the complex society Lysura had spoken of. For all its beauty, the city carried the weight of corruption, leaders who valued power above truth. Finally, they reached the Central Records Center, a towering structure of glass and metal, its entrance guarded by heavily armed sentries. Ethan felt a pang of fear but reminded himself of Lysura's words. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was action despite it. Lysura assessed the situation quickly. "We cannot enter openly, we will use the maintenance entrance. It is lightly guarded and leads directly to the records chambers." Lysura pressed a series of subtle buttons and the door slid open silently. They slipped inside, leaving the bustling city behind. The interior was dimly lit, the hum of machinery echoing through the corridors. Ethan's senses sharpened, every shadow could hide a threat. Lysura moved with confidence, her knowledge of the building evident in every step. "The records are on the upper floors," she whispered. "We must be quick." The room was massive, filled with rows of glowing data crystals and holographic displays. Ethan's eyes widened. This is everything," he whispered. "All the evidence we need." Ethan carefully copied the information onto portable devices while Lysura kept watch, her senses alert to any approaching danger. The process was painstaking but necessary. Every crystal, every data fragment held proof of corruption, manipulation, and deceit. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed in the chamber, a soft click, almost imperceptible. Ethan froze. Lysura's eyes narrowed. "They know we are here," she said quietly. Before Ethan could react, the door slid open and two elite guards entered. Lysura moved instantly, positioning herself between Ethan and the guards. "Stay behind me," she instructed. The guards were skilled, their movements precise, but Lysura was faster. She disarmed the first with a swift maneuver and sent him sprawling to the floor. The second lunged at Ethan, but Lysura intercepted, using the guard's momentum to throw him into a wall. Ethan watched in awe. Her strength, skill, and precision were unmatched. "You must trust your instincts, Ethan," she said, glancing at him. "If you hesitate, they will take advantage. Act when the moment comes." He could feel the adrenaline surging through him, sharpening his focus. The guards were formidable, but together they could overcome them. Lysura engaged the remaining guard with swift, controlled movements, each strike precise and effective. Ethan observed closely, learning how she anticipated her opponent's moves, how she combined agility with strategy. Inspired, he acted decisively, using a small energy pulse device to temporarily disable the guard systems. The guard collapsed, stunned, giving Lysura the opening she needed to finish the confrontation. Breathing heavily, Ethan and Lysura secured the remaining data crystals and prepared to leave. The chamber had been dangerous, but their teamwork had prevailed. Ethan realized something important. Humans could contribute not just with technology, but with courage, quick thinking, and moral strength. Together, they were unstoppable. As they navigated back through the corridors, Ethan felt a mixture of relief and concern. "We've got the evidence," he said quietly. "Now what?" "But we must do it carefully. If the leaders discover our plan before the people see it, they will try to destroy us and the data." Lysura led him to a hidden location where her trusted allies waited. The warriors examined the data, their expressions shifting from skepticism to disbelief. This proves everything," one of them said. "The leaders' corruption, the manipulation of other planets, it is undeniable. The leaders cannot silence truth once it reaches the hearts of the Valyrans. Once the data is revealed, the leaders' power will crumble under the weight of truth." They would fight to maintain control, and Ethan knew they must remain vigilant. Over the next hours, they prepared the broadcasts, ensuring the data was clear, organized, and undeniable. Lysura's allies coordinated with trusted contacts throughout the city, ready to distribute the information once the signal was activated. Ethan worked tirelessly, using his human experience and knowledge of technology to ensure every step was precise. As night fell over the city, the final preparations were complete. Ethan and Lysura stood together, looking out over the glowing metropolis. The moment of truth was approaching. Lysura turned to him, her expression serious but proud. "Are you ready, human? This is the moment where courage, honesty, and trust will face the greatest challenge." Citizens paused in the streets, their eyes widening as the truth unfolded before them. The leaders' corruption, their manipulations, and their plans for personal gain were laid bare. Murmurs spread quickly, growing into shouts demanding accountability. In the midst of it all, Ethan felt Lysura's hand on his shoulder, a steady reminder that they were not alone. The bond they shared, built on trust, courage, and integrity, was stronger than any fear, stronger than any threat. And as the city reacted to the revelations, Ethan knew one thing. The journey was far from over, but the power of truth, courage, and human determination had begun to change the fate of Valyra. Together, they had taken the first step toward justice, and nothing could stop them now. The city was alive with unrest as dawn broke over Valyra. Holographic projections, glowing brightly against the crystal towers, displayed the leaders' corruption for all to see. Citizens paused in the streets, staring at the undeniable evidence. Their eyes widened, then narrowed with anger and determination. The leaders' carefully maintained image of control was crumbling under the weight of truth. Ethan Marlowe stood at the edge of a rooftop with Lysura by his side, surveying the city below. From this height, he could see small groups of Valyrans gathering in the streets, discussing the revelations with intensity. The leader's influence was weakening fast, but Ethan knew the danger was far from over. Those in power would not surrender easily. They would resist until their authority was completely shattered. Lysura's hand rested lightly on his shoulder, a reassuring presence. "The people are beginning to see the truth," she said quietly, "but the leaders will not give up without a fight. We must be ready for whatever they do next. We confront the leaders directly. They must be held accountable. The people will support us, but we cannot underestimate their power or cunning." They shouted, waved, and rallied, their voices echoing through the crystalline towers. Each step they took, the city felt alive with energy, a force fueled by truth, courage, and the desire for change. They reached the central government building, a towering structure of polished crystal and steel. Its entrance was guarded by elite soldiers, but the public unrest made it clear that many were reconsidering their loyalties. Ethan felt a surge of hope. The leader's control was faltering. Lysura raised her hand, signaling for Ethan to stay close. "We must be strategic," she whispered. "Rushing in could endanger the citizens and ourselves. We move with purpose, not haste." Reaching the main chamber, they found the leaders gathered, their faces pale as they realized the evidence had gone public. For the first time, they were no longer in control. Their carefully constructed authority was unraveling. "You dare defy us?" one leader demanded, his voice trembling with both anger and fear. Lysura stepped forward, her presence commanding. "The people will no longer be deceived. Your corruption is exposed, your plans laid bare. You will answer for your actions. You are only human, one spat. You cannot challenge us. Some had already begun to defect, recognizing the truth and unwilling to continue serving corruption. Lysura's allies moved to secure the remaining entrances, ensuring that no further resistance could interfere. The building's halls were alive with tension, but also with the undeniable momentum of change. Ethan realized that this was more than a confrontation. It was the birth of a new era for Valyra. The leaders attempted to regroup, but their authority was broken. Evidence, public pressure, and the courage of a human and a Valyran warrior had shifted the balance irrevocably. Citizens streamed into the streets, demanding accountability, their voices echoing through the city. Lysura turned to Ethan, her expression a mixture of pride and resolve. "You have done well," she said. "Not just as a mate, but as a human. Your courage, your integrity, and your willingness to act have made this possible." He had never imagined that he could influence an entire world, yet here he was, witnessing change unfold because of honesty, bravery, and trust. "We did it together," he said quietly. "Yes," Lysura agreed. "Together we are stronger than any fear, any deception, any obstacle." They attempted to speak, to explain or defend themselves, but their words fell flat against the weight of evidence and the will of the people. The citizens demanded reform, accountability, and justice, and the leaders could no longer resist. Lysura stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "The truth is clear. Corruption cannot stand against courage, honesty, and unity. Let this day mark the beginning of a new era for Valyra, a time when integrity and justice guide our actions." The city that had once been controlled by fear and deception was now alive with possibility, energized by the power of truth and collective courage. As the day progressed, Ethan and Lysura worked to ensure that the transition was orderly. They helped establish temporary leadership, coordinated with loyal warriors, and ensured that no further attempts at resistance could threaten the citizens. Every action they took reinforced the bond between them, a partnership built on trust, courage, and mutual respect. Lysura turned to Ethan as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. "Look at what you have helped achieve, human. Your courage has changed the course of an entire world, and the people will remember it." He had faced danger, fear, and uncertainty, yet here he was, witnessing the impact of honesty and bravery. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. Lysura shook her head gently. "No, you have done it with yourself. I only guided and protected you. Your choices, your courage, and your heart have made this possible." The citizens celebrated, their voices rising in harmony, yet Ethan knew the work was not finished. True reform would take time, dedication, and continued vigilance. But for the first time, he felt that Valyra had a chance to thrive, guided by courage, honesty, and the collective will of its people. Lysura placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, a gesture of trust and partnership. "The future is bright," she said. "And now, as my mate, you are part of it. Together, we can continue to protect and guide this world, ensuring that courage and truth always prevail. Whatever comes next, we face it together." As night fell over Valyra, the city glowed with a renewed energy, a testament to the power of courage, trust, and integrity. Ethan and Lysura stood side by side, ready to face the future. They had begun a new chapter, one that would see Valyra thrive under the guidance of truth, justice, and the unlikely partnership of a human and a Valyran warrior. And in that moment, Ethan realized something profound. Humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, had the power to change worlds. Courage, honesty, and a willingness to act, these were qualities that transcended species, cultures, and galaxies. Lysura looked at him, her expression softening. "You have proven that humans are capable of extraordinary things," she said. "And together, we will continue to protect what is right and just." A new era had begun, one where courage, integrity, and partnership shaped the future. And for Ethan and Lysura, the journey was far from over. It had only just begun. In the quiet moments, they knew this truth. No matter the danger, no matter the odds, the strength of heart, mind, and courage could overcome even the greatest challenges. And with that knowledge, they were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The story of a human and a Valyran warrior, united by trust, courage, and integrity, had reached a turning point. They had not only changed the fate of Valyra, but had shown that ordinary beings, when guided by honesty and bravery, could inspire extraordinary change. And so, under the glowing stars and the bright lights of the Crystal City, Ethan and Lysura prepared to continue their mission, not just as protector and mate, but as partners in shaping a future built on truth, courage, and hope.